Right now, inside the body you call you, there are approximately 38 trillion cells. They regulate your digestion, they produce your mood chemicals, they influence what you crave, how you handle stress, who you feel drawn to, and how you experience the world. And not one of them is human. You are, by cell count, more microbe than person. And the microbes have opinions. This is not science fiction. This is not a metaphor. This is the most astonishing finding to come out of modern biology, and it changes the question of what you actually are more completely than anything discovered in the last 100 years. Because we have spent all of recorded history assuming that the human body is a single organism, one creature, one self, controlled by one brain, running one biological program, working toward one survival. That assumption is wrong. What we now know is that the human body is an ecosystem, a collaboration, a negotiation, happening every second between your human cells and trillions of other organisms that have been living inside you since the day you were born, and that have been living inside your ancestors for millions of years before that. And once you understand what those organisms are actually doing, you will never think about your emotions, your decisions, or your sense of self in quite the same way again. Let's start with the scale of this, because the numbers are staggering. The human body contains roughly 37 trillion human cells. That is already a number the human mind cannot genuinely process. If you counted one cell per second without sleeping, without stopping, it would take you over 1 million years to reach 37 trillion. Now, add this. Your body also contains approximately 38 trillion microbial cells. Bacteria primarily, but also fungi, archaea, and single-celled organisms that have no common name in everyday language, because we had no reason to name them until very recently. For a long time, scientists thought the ratio was 10 to 1, 10 microbes for every human cell. That number got updated in 2016, when researchers at the Weizmann Institute ran more precise measurements and found the real ratio is closer to 1 to 1. You are, very nearly, half microbial by cell count. Half! And yet somehow this was not front-page news. Somehow this did not fundamentally restructure the way medicine, psychology, and philosophy think about what a human being is. The organisms living inside you are not passive passengers. They are not hitchhikers catching a ride in your gut. They are active participants in virtually everything your body does, especially everything your mind does. That is the part most people have no idea about, and it is the part that changes everything. You have heard of the gut-brain connection. You may have dismissed it as wellness culture language. You should not have dismissed it. The gut is lined with approximately 500 million neurons. That is not a metaphor. That is a literal neural network woven through the walls of your digestive system, containing more nerve cells than the entire spinal cord. Scientists call it the enteric nervous system, but its nickname, now used widely in neuroscience, is the second brain. And the organisms living in that second brain's environment are running its chemistry. Here is the one fact from this entire video I want you to remember. Your gut microbiome produces approximately 90% of your body's serotonin. 90%! Serotonin is the molecule most associated with mood, emotional stability, and a sense of well-being. It is what most antidepressants are designed to regulate. It is the chemical your doctor adjusts when you are depressed or anxious, and 90% of it is not produced in your brain. It is produced in your gut by bacteria. Your emotional state, the quality of your days, your baseline mood, how you respond to difficulty, how resilient you feel, is not solely authored by your brain. It is co-authored, in large part, by the microbial community living in your digestive system. A 2025 review published in Nutrients confirmed that gut microbiota directly modulate the neurochemical pathways governing serotonin, dopamine, GABA, and glutamate, the 4 neurotransmitters most responsible for mood, motivation, fear, and cognitive performance. When the microbial community is disrupted, a condition called dysbiosis, the result is linked to depression, anxiety, impulsivity, cognitive decline, and addiction. Not associated with, not correlated with, linked to through identified biological mechanisms. The bacteria in your gut are not a side story to your mental health. They are part of the mechanism itself. And there is something even stranger. When researchers at the NPR-covered Nature Mental Health study examined how people handle stress, they found distinct biological signatures in the gut microbiome that predicted stress resilience before a stressful event occurred. Not after, before. The bacteria knew, in some chemical sense, how you were going to respond before you did. Now ask yourself, where did your microbiome come from? Because here is what most people do not know. You were not born with it, you were built by it. And the process began in the first seconds of your life. A baby in the womb exists in a nearly sterile environment. The moment it enters the world, everything changes. In a vaginal birth, the infant passes through a microbial corridor, the mother's birth canal, which is coated in a specific community of bacteria, primarily lactobacillus species. These bacteria flood the newborn's skin, mouth, and gut in the first moments of life, establishing the foundational colony that will shape that child's immune system, neurological development, and metabolic function for decades. This is not incidental. Research following 120 Dutch mothers and babies found that regardless of delivery method, an average of 58.5% of an infant's entire microbial landscape could be traced directly back to its mother. Over half of what lives inside you was seeded by the person who gave birth to you. In infants born by C-section, this corridor is bypassed. Their initial microbial exposure is not their mother's vaginal bacteria. It is the bacteria of the hospital environment. Their initial gut colonies tend to resemble skin bacteria and hospital surfaces. More Staphylococcus and Streptococcus, fewer of the gut protective Bacteroides and Bifidobacterium species associated with immune stability. The research is still unfolding, and C-section birth does not determine destiny. Breastfeeding, skin contact, and early environment all continue to shape the microbiome significantly in those early weeks. But the foundational point stands. The organisms that will run significant parts of your body were selected by the circumstances of your birth. The microbiome also continues to be shaped throughout early life. Breastfeeding introduces its own microbial community. Every person you touch, every surface you contact, every food you eat adds to or alters the population. The dog your parents had when you were a toddler contributed to who you are. The dirt you played in contributed to who you are. Your early environment was not just shaping your memories and your values, it was shaping the organisms that shape your chemistry. And now, here is the part that genuinely stops people. People who live together share microbiomes, not metaphorically, literally. Studies have shown that people in close living environments, couples, families, close friends, develop increasingly similar microbial populations over time. The longer you live with someone, the more your internal ecosystems begin to resemble each other. When you hug someone, when you share a meal, when you breathe the same air in a small room, you are exchanging microbes. Every kiss transfers microbiota. Every shared surface is a point of microbial contact. There is a phrase scientists use, microbial cloud. Every human being walks around surrounded by a personal, invisible atmosphere of shed microbes, on your skin, in your breath, in every room you occupy. Within 90 minutes of entering a room, researchers can identify which specific person was there, based solely on the microbial signature they left behind. You are, at a biological level, leaving traces of your inner ecosystem everywhere you go. And the people you love most are changing their internal biology in response to the traces you leave behind. Now, hold that idea, and consider this next piece. We have talked about bacteria. Now we need to talk about something older, something that goes even deeper than your microbiome, something that is not living alongside your DNA. It is written into it. 8% of the human genome is ancient viral DNA. Not present-day viruses, not active infections, viral sequences that were inserted into the DNA of your ancestors' reproductive cells millions of years ago by viruses that no longer exist, and which have been passed down generation to generation through every human being who has ever lived. These are called human endogenous retroviruses, ERVs. There are around 60,000 of these viral sequences embedded across your genome. They outnumber your protein-coding genes by more than 4 to 1. They got there the same way HIV works today. A retrovirus infects a cell by inserting its genetic code directly into the host's DNA. Usually, it infects a body cell and dies with the host, But occasionally, rarely, it infects a sperm cell or an egg cell, and when that happens, the viral code does not die. It is copied, it is inherited, it passes into the next generation and the next for millions of years, until it is no longer a foreign sequence. It is you. For a long time, scientists called this junk DNA, evolutionary debris, ancient garbage cluttering up the genome with no purpose. They were wrong. Some of these ancient viral sequences are not just sitting there, they're working. They're performing functions that modern human biology now depends on completely. The most extraordinary example is a gene called syncytin. Syncytin is derived from an ancient retrovirus that infected primate ancestors tens of millions of years ago. Today, syncytin's job, its essential, indispensable job, is to build the placenta. Let that settle. The gene that allows a human mother to sustain a developing baby inside her body came from a virus. Every human being alive on Earth has a virus to thank for their existence. Every pregnancy in every mammal on Earth depends on a piece of ancient viral code that was written into the genome millions of years before humans existed. The line between self and invader, the line you thought was absolute, does not exist in the way you thought it did. Let's step back and look at what we now know. You contain roughly 37 trillion human cells and 38 trillion microbial cells. You are, by cell count, approximately half non-human. The bacteria in your gut produce 90% of your serotonin, the primary chemical regulating your emotional stability and sense of well-being. Your microbiome was established in the first moments of your life and has been shaped by every person, place, and substance you have been in close contact with ever since. The people you love most have altered your internal biology, and you have altered theirs. 8% of your genome is ancient viral DNA, written into your cells by viruses that no longer exist, and at least one of those viral sequences is now performing one of the most essential biological functions the human body possesses. The question, "What are you?" turns out to be far more complicated than any biology class ever suggested.
You are not a single organism navigating a world full of foreign things. You are a collaborative system. Human cells, ancient bacteria, inherited viral code, all operating in a negotiation that has been running for millions of years. The bacteria are not passengers in your body. In a real biological sense, your body is their world, and they have been shaping that world and shaping you since long before you had a name for yourself. The mood you woke up with this morning? That is partly them. The food you craved at lunch? That is partly them. The resilience you feel in hard moments, or the vulnerability you feel when you don't, that is in some measurable neurochemical percentage a conversation between your brain and the organisms that have lived inside your family line since before your species had language. You are not a you. You are a we. And the we has been working on you your entire life. If this changed how you think about what you are, even slightly, that is the point. That feeling you have right now, where something you thought was settled has been quietly rearranged, is the best thing science can do for a person. There is a lot more where this came from. Every week, we go this deep into the things you thought you understood. Subscribe if that is where you want to go. And leave a comment below. Knowing what you know now, that your microbiome is partly shaping your mood and your decisions, does that change how you think about your choices? Or does it just make you hungry? Because that might be the bacteria talking to.